Okay, I feel kind of not here. You know, I'm not sure who and what I am right now. Things are changing so much. I trust they are with you as well. Um, I've been using these days, these stormy days. Now it's really beautiful, but during the storm time, my insides went along with the outsides there in withdrawing. I mean, I couldn't get on the internet reliably anyway, so that was fine. You hear the blackbirds out there? I have a pair of red-winged blackbirds that are nesting around here, which is fine in the springtime. I don't like them when they flock, because then they eat everything up. But in the spring, it's just pairs of them. But anyway, okay, so I'm changing again, yet again, and I feel myself kind of in some way climbing up through energies and levels and things. I'm not saying dimensions, but there's definite energies that I seem to be working my way out of. And there's some increased clarity of vision that's come, which isn't to say that I've really put anything together very well just yet. But, I take you along on the journey, so where are we going this time? I think in the video I just uploaded, which is Unplug 4, excuse me, 4. I haven't recorded 3 yet. The one about looking into the motivation of various ETs and channelings and things. I stepped on about everybody's toes in one way or another, maybe with their favorite channeler and me saying, this is why I don't have a use for this one and this is why I don't have a use for that one. And I wanted to clarify a little on that. I was talking about how we need to watch closely and carefully what we accept and what we choose to believe based on what these beings are telling us. And I just saw it even more clearly. It's like, now be in heart for all of this, of course. Look at the news media around the world and how you can tune into BBC or whatever. And overall, you're getting pretty much the same thing. It might be somewhat of a different flavor to it. For instance, I find the news that's given in other countries says more about what's happening here in the U.S. than our own news does. I mean, there are differences, sure. But overall, we're being given pretty much the same view of things, aren't we? Well, what's happening there? If we're creatures of free will, and if we're creators in our own way, then if we step back enough, we can see that there are beings who create all that homogeneous media, the news that's so much alike. And what they're doing is they're creating through us. Do you see that? How they paint the same story so they get us all believing the same basic things and facts and taking some similar attitudes. And there are differences, sure. I mean, you've always got this game of polarity going on where the aim is to get us to polarize to the left or to the right and argue, fuss, fight, and go to war. But overall, if we step back far enough, we can still see how there's a mechanism that's being used there, and it has to do with our free will and belief. And the ones that are behind the scenes getting us into the same cluster of beliefs and things are using us to create a certain version or variety of reality. And so I think we can look at the various channelings that way. If we step back from them far enough, unplug, in other words, we can take a look from this perspective and see, okay, what might they be trying to create? In what way are they working with mankind's beliefs and what might be their desired outcome of that. And so this is just a further look into their motivation. And I'm not saying I have any great clarity to offer. Right now, it's just more a method than anything. It's more the really strong sense that I have that we need to unplug. And I'm finding so much gain and benefit in the unplugging. Now, it gets uncomfortable. It really does, because all of us, one way or another, have bought into things that just aren't so. We've accepted things that aren't the way it is. We've been programmed. Come on, we know that, right? Well, I mean, it's one thing to know it and to say, okay, and accept it and see how it's been done even. It's quite another thing to get inside there, because, see, we've identified with these things and we think that's us. And so when they get challenged specifically, such as, you know, I don't like this or that channeling, or any kind of specifics, when we're looking inside of the self, it gets hard because we have resistance. You know, these are things that we have accepted. And when you accept something, it forms a belief. And then you base things on it. And so it becomes a belief structure, because you have all kinds of other things that, well, because I believe this thing over there, then that makes this other thing more acceptable. And then it naturally follows that XYZ. And pretty soon it gets to be woven all through you, so that when it gets challenged, it's a little scary because it's challenging your identity. Well, it's not, but that's how it feels. See, that's the illusion. We've got ideas about who and what we are, and about who and what other beings are and other people are. And we get attached to our ideas and we get to thinking that we're right. Now, that's the mind at work. That's the 3D mind at work. And until we are willing and able to step back from that, see, we've got to unplug in order to be able to take a fair look at this stuff. Otherwise, it's just going to get us all jumbled up inside. It'll get us upset and uncomfortable, and we won't necessarily know why. And maybe we'll just want to, you know, change the channel here or something. Well, if we look at the upset, if we do the old watch and observe thing, chances are good. See, our beliefs form structures that are subconscious or unconscious. I don't quite know how to distinguish those two. But anyway, they're not totally accessible to the conscious mind. And so we get feelings of comfort or discomfort. A lot of times we don't understand, because what they're tapping into is subconscious. It's below conscious awareness anyway. And so when we're working with identity, when we're working with unplugging, it takes a certain amount of strength and a willingness to step back from the self and to take an impartial look. And so it gets a little mixed up feeling, because on the one hand, you're in heart, so you're deep inside yourself. On the other hand, while you're in there, you're stepping back from yourself. And so it pretzels the mind. It really does. This stuff is hardest on the mind. And I think if you'll take a fair look at things, you'll see most of the time what's objecting inside of you to this or that is mental. It's the mind, and it's based on some sort of a belief structure that mind has created and gotten very comfortable with. Mind always wants to think that it's right. I mean, you know, that's just how it functions. Well, we're rising above that. It seems to me that the 3D mind and the brain are very much a part of the third dimension. And we're rising above that. Our frequency is getting higher and higher. And so we're lifting off, you know? We don't yet know what we're going to be, what we are in spirit. We don't have clear vision of that yet. We've got a lot of cleanup work to do with our opinions and our ideas and our beliefs and all of that structure that we've created and called it the self. Well, it's really not. It's really not. I mean, if we're divinity here, how can that be? You know, divinity is not opinionated. So I guess we could say we're divinity in potential, but it's such a close potential that you can really just reach right up for it, and there it is. But it's a choice, and it requires a letting go. Again and again and again. If anything is true that I've found, it's that letting go, stepping back, disidentifying, unplugging is the way into this. And it hurts. You know, it's like when you believe in someone and you get to trusting them and everything. There are still days when I cry a few tears over the breakup of my very close friendship. And that's kind of amazing. And I keep watching, and, you know, we don't want to be in pain like that. But when it's real and when it surfaces, then there's something of benefit there. Or there's not. I mean, if you're just circling around in your muck, then at some point you're going to recognize that. And it's mind that will do that. It will have you circling around the block, the same block, again and again and endlessly again, until you just get fed up and say, okay, enough of that. Now, when things come up in heart, it's different. It's not like that. It's really not. This is a different world. Heart kingdom is way different. So, you know, you can expect that there will be pain. This is where I'm learning so much about every coin has two sides. And one of them is, okay, I'm going to push pause here. I'm learning to do that. I find it interesting that when I find it interesting that when I'm motivated to push pause like that, it turns out to be a call that I wanted to take. And those other times when I'm done with recording and I go push the caller ID and find out who it wasn't who I wanted to take. You know, the little things that go on around us, we're more plugged in than we realize. And so I guess I did lose my train of thought a little bit, or train of flow. But I know I was talking about it hurting. When we've identified with something and then we begin to back off from it, there's a certain amount of pain that can be involved. Not necessarily, but it can be, because we really thought that was us. And we fell for a lie. We have fallen for so many lies, my friends. I mean, we couldn't help it. It's so woven into the society and the structure of everything here in the West that we're fed from birth on lies and mistreatment of different kinds. You know, the vaccinations for the babies and all that kind of thing. It's an ugly situation to look at. And we were okay with it until we began waking up to realize, hey, this isn't so good. You know, they tell us they're doing it for us. It's like this war on terror stuff, you know, and they passed the Patriot Act, and it's supposedly to keep us safe, when the real terrorists, if you take any kind of a deep look at it, is the government. I mean, look at the face that they're putting on the police these days, jackboots and the viciousness that's there, and the tasering. It's one thing to have a gun and you don't use it casually. Well, honey, they taser casually. They do it for their own convenience because it makes you easier to deal with. And it's not right. It's just not right. And so as we wake up to things, we had a nice, comfy belief system where everything was kind of okay, and we were just trying to get ahead and carve out a little bit for ourselves and our family and make ourselves comfortable. And we're finding more and more that's all BS. So much of it is not okay. So much of it we fell in with a bunch of what I would call false beliefs. And so, don't be afraid of the discomfort. The discomfort is really the gift because that's the mark of you cleaning up crap and getting rid of it. You're willing to go through whatever you need to because as beings of light, we love truth. And we spell it with a capital T and we're loyal to it. Truth warriors, even. And so, no matter how much it hurts, that's what we're after. And we have a truth detector on the one side of the coin that's inside of our heart, and on the other side of that same coin is a BS detector. And so, we're navigating by the stars, if you will, by higher light, by higher self. And we're fine. We'll be fine. But meanwhile, we're plowing through some pretty nasty stuff. Have a great day. Bye-bye.